Okay, so Bernie Sanders dropped out. What to do from here? Um, I made a video talking a little bit about my idea to start an anti-corruption platform and movement, but I guess I should probably explain it a little better. First off, I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden under any circumstance. The Democrats showed and proved that they don't believe in democracy. They don't believe in America. They don't believe in really anything besides maintaining power on the left. And the reason they believe in maintaining power is because the, the Democratic Party actually serves Wall Street and the corporations just like the right wing does in the Republican Party. The difference is there is a chance for real left wing movement, populist movement. Bernie Sanders was representation of that. And the reason Bernie Sanders is a real representation of it because there is a real need and desire for left wing politics. The problem is that the Democratic Party has a foothold as the left. See, this is what it is. The Democratic Party is simply a placeholder for left-wing politics. So if you want any type of left-wing political movement, left-wing political action taken and done, in a two-party system, the only party to which that is even possible in is the Democratic Party. But the problem is, the Democratic Party isn't actually a left-wing party. They're just the placeholder for left-wing politics. Meaning that the only thing, and this is why the Democratic Party fought it so hard against Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was bringing people to the point where a real left-wing movement could take hold in this country. Bernie Sanders was changing the very dynamics of the country, and by changing the dynamics of actually allowing a real left-wing movement to take hold in the country, it would have subverted the very democratic power structure that is in place now. Meaning that simply the Democrats are there just to ensure that no left-wing political movement takes place, and that is why they fought against Bernie Sanders harder than they fight against Donald Trump, because Donald Trump does his job. The job of the Democratic Party isn't to fight Republicans. The job of the Democratic Party is to fight people and the populist movement that is possible. So right now, we're not even fighting Donald Trump. We're fighting the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party is a corporate-owned party that is there to do one thing and only one thing: to ensure that left-wing politics never has a foothold within the American society and in the country. And it's also aided by MSNBC, CNN, who lie and manipulate the American public. I mean, seriously, think of it like this. We literally have one quote-unquote one left-wing party in the entire country of America. And in this one left-wing party, the current runner for president has now came out and said he would veto Medicare for all. So literally, if we elect every Democrat in the Senate, if we give the Democrats the supermajority in the House, and we elect the Democrats in the majority in the Senate, we still do not have the capacity to get Medicare for all passed because of Joe Biden. And that's the left-wing party of our country. It's all about control. It is all about control. This is the only thing they care about is control. And it's control over the people. It's control over the population. It's a control that ensures that no matter what happens, the American public and the American people do not have a say in their own government. And this is why we need to stop voting for Democrats. We need to start a movement right now, because I think even with a decent amount of Bernie Sanders supporters supporting Biden, he's going to lose horribly to Trump. The dude has dementia. He can't speak. He can't talk. And even Donald Trump is going to use that attack against Joe Biden, and it is going to be wholly effective. The MSNBC, the CNNs of the world, they hid this fact. They hid a potential sexual assault allegation against Joe Biden. And just like they did in 2016, they hid all this baggage of Biden's. And Donald Trump is just going to throw it out there day after day after day after day after day, endlessly. And so we're in a position right now where Biden is going to get destroyed and Nancy Pelosi is likely to lose the House. And if we are stupid enough to support Joe Biden, they will blame us again for Biden's loss. Not the corruption of the Democratic Party, not the fact that we can't trust Joe Biden, he's a liar, a sack of shit, and a corporate-owned piece of shit. None of that's going to be the headline. It will be Bernie Sanders and his supporters have destroyed the Democrats and this, that, and the other. And at the end of the day, the only thing they're doing, the only reason that they will do that is to try to dishearten us, to try to feel us like we're impotent, like we have no power, we have no capacity. And that's why I think right now we need to start a movement to end corruption in the United States of America. Because the one thing that we all agree on, Republicans, independents, Democrats, is that corruption is an abhorrent cancer on our democracy. And so we just need to start coming out and saying, like, listen, people need to understand the Democratic Party is corrupt and the Republican Party is corrupt. And the corporate media is corrupt. That includes CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News. All of these organizations are corrupt, and they serve one group of people. That's rich people and the corporate establishment and Wall Street. These are the people who they serve. So no matter who you vote for, you are going to be voting for a Wall Street puppet. And this is a problem of America. We don't talk about this. We don't mention this. It's not even brought up on CNN or MSNBC. The fact that insulin has risen over 700% in price within the United States isn't even talked about on CNN or MSNBC. You want to know why? Because CNN and MSNBC get millions, if not billions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry themselves. They're in cahoots. And so the reason we don't have a movement of Medicare for all is because the very people who are supposed to be giving you objective news are lying to you, or they're misrepresenting the facts or the truth, or they are just plainly hiding the facts and the truth about what's going on in our country. So that means in a crisis like this, because CNN and MSNBC serve the corporate overlords, what they do is ensure that none of the information they give to you will ever cause the American public to get angry at corporations or the rich. That's what CNN and MSNBC's job is to do, to blame anything and everything and everybody and everyone besides the people who are responsible. And we need to change that. And so what I would suggest is we start developing a platform that talks about anti-corruption. And we have this platform. And now the thing that a platform will do well is anybody can adopt it. A Republican can adopt it, a Democrat can adopt it, an independent can adopt it. But what we can do is once Joe Biden loses badly to Trump, which he will, and we're going to have to organize before this, we need to start a movement to say, we're not voting for Joe Biden because he's corrupt. We're not voting for corporate Democrats because they're corrupt. And put that as the main staple of this platform, saying, we have demands. Nancy Pelosi needs to fucking resign. Chuck Schumer needs to resign. All these corporate Democrats that are garbage trash need to resign, or we will never vote for you again. Tom Perez needs to be taken out. We need to see transparency in the Democratic Party. If you do not do this, we will withhold our votes. Flat out, fuck yourself. Because this is the only way we can have and create change within this country. We need to say that, listen, the only candidates who I will ever vote for, and I'm pledging my vote, not to a particular candidate, but to a platform. You need to speak about corruption. You need to speak about corruption in the Democratic Party, Republican Party. First part of the platform. You need to speak about corruption of the corporate media, the corruption of CNN and MSNBC, the corruption of people like Jeff Bezos on the Washington Post. You need to speak about corruption. You need to call it out openly and publicly, constantly. That is the first freaking platform of the anti-corruption platform. And what this will do is it will create a level of fervency within the American public to say, you know what? Yes, this is my country, this is my government, and I live in a democracy, and I am no longer going to vote or support the lesser evil. I'm going to support the person whose ideas I believe in. And by doing this, what you are going to do is focus the American public. And you are going to have an advantage above all advantages. You're not going to work on a partisan level. People hate partisan bullshit. So you know what you're going to do? You're going to say, I think the Republicans and the Democrats are both fucking corrupt and I hate them both. A lot of people agree with that. It's just that generally the people who are out there talking are Democrats like, I'm not a Republican, how great am I? Or I'm a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, how good am I? It's political theater. It's football. People root for the Democrats and Republicans like it's the Broncos versus the Raiders. There is nothing you get out of the Democrat winning. There's nothing you get out of the Republican winning. The only thing these people get is to feel good about themselves. I beat the other team. Meanwhile, there are people who die because they can't afford healthcare. Or worse yet, there are people who die because they can't afford insulin. And CNN, MSNBC, they don't talk about it. They don't give a shit. We are now withholding food and money and aid to Venezuela because we want their oil. Does CNN or MSNBC talk about it? No, never. It's because of the fact these people own us. And we need to remember this is our country, this is our government. And so the first platform is calling out corruption. The second thing we need to do with the anti-corruption platform and potentially party is we need to educate the American public. We need to be the people who educates one another. We need to start vaccinating the American public against the corporate bullshit of CNN and MSNBC. They need to know, people need to know MSNBC and CNN are not to be trusted because they are bought off by the very corporations they're supposed to be reporting on. They're bought off by the military-industrial complex. They're bought off by the very politicians they're supposed to hold to account. So we need to vaccinate the American public so they can begin to understand that what they are being told is bullshit. And by doing that, we need to do education. We need to talk to people about the corruption and evil of Nancy Pelosi. We need to talk to people about the corruption and evil of Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell. We need to begin to educate people on how the system works, the votes that these people take and make, and how and why we need to take these people out of office, because they are a danger to this country. And right now we're headed into a depression. If we don't start get organized real quick, this could be the most disorganized movement in the history of this country, and our depression will last a year, 2 years, 3 years possible. We need to get organized right now so the American public knows what is going on so they can act on that information. And acting on that information has to be that we talk about the corruption of our American democracy and how it happened and why it happens. Is because our democracy is not a two-party system, it's a one-party system with two wings. The Democrats are there to control the left wing of this country, and the Republicans there are to actually represent the interests of the people who actually own both the Democrats and Republicans. That's why when Donald Trump wanted to destroy healthcare and deregulate Wall Street and deregulate the banks, he always had Democratic support in the House to get that stuff passed. Why is it that we are constantly being told to vote for Democrats or Republicans are going to get away with everything, and yet when Donald Trump passes his horrible bills and his tax cuts and everything, nobody talks about the Democrats who voted for it. Nobody brings up their name. CNN, MSNBC, they don't even mention it. They don't even mention this thing. They don't even talk about the fact that Donald Trump spent $2 trillion on Wall Street that disappeared within a week. They don't talk about how the $5 billion in this bill that was supposed to be $2 trillion is actually $4.2 trillion to corporations. They don't even mention that. How are we supposed to trust that CNN and MSNBC are giving us honest news when they don't even tell us the truth about any of this? It's because of the fact that you know who's getting the tax breaks? You know who's getting all that money from corporations, that $4.2 trillion in this bill that was supposed to help the American public? It's Comcast. It's AT&T. The people who own these news organizations. It's Time Warner. These are the very people who are getting this money. So they're not going to report on the fact that, yeah, they're fucking over the American public, because the people who are fucking over the American public are MSNBC and CNN or their parent companies. And so we need to begin to educate the American public, because right now we're headed into a depression and the people in power are too disconnected, too corrupt, and just too fucking evil to be able to even do anything to effectively lead this country out of it. And so we, the people, have to come together and stand up for democracy, stand up for what's right, and take back our democracy from these corrupt bastards. And that starts with saying, listen, fuck the Democratic Party, you're too fucking corrupt, we're not voting for you. And we need to start pledging that. We need to start saying that, listen, we're not going to vote for you because of the fact not only you've not earned our votes, you're corrupt and you don't believe in democracy, and we're no longer standing for this. This is how we make change in this country, because of the fact that the second the Democrats lose power is the second a real left-wing movement can take place. Because the only thing, again, the Democrats are there to do is to ensure that progressives never take power within the Congress itself. That's the only thing the Democratic Party is there to do, to ensure progressives never take power. So as long as we keep giving Democrats power by our votes, we are voting to ensure left-wing politics never has a chance in this country. And that's what we need to change, and we need to change it today. All right, deuces. You guys have a good one. I feel like there's, a revolution coming. Bernie was kind of weak and feckless. I mean, he's a good, decent human being, but he talked about a revolution, but never actually had the balls to act like a revolutionary. I think there's a lot of people in the Bernie Sanders movement who don't have that same problem. I think there's a lot of us who are willing to fight for the American public, to fight for the poor, to fight for the hungry, to fight for the sick, to fight for those in need. And that's who I am. I'm a person who's willing to fight for that. I know the Democratic Party isn't, so I will no longer support them. Deuces.